Hey, what's going on, guys? This is a very big and heavy box we're going to be taking a look at in today's video. Well, not only the box, I mean the kit itself is the main focus. That we're going to start off looking at the box from Hemoxian. This is the B.A.K.I model kit here. Very big box, basically sort of like a mecha boxer, like martial artist with dreadlocks and like a wrestling belt and everything. A very interesting design for this one. And not only that, I also have as the separate set here, this is the Nuclear Blast Fist kind of option set that will basically make it into a 6-armed fighter. So that'll make it kind of even larger, but it's a big box and a big kit, so I'm not sure what size ultimately this is meant to be, but I'm expecting it to be a fairly good size. There's a lot of stuff in here, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And so first off, I'll just say really cool box art here on the front. You can see the kind of boxing ring there in the background, obviously this big punch effect, and just lots of logos. You got the OverZero logo up there. Down here, this is the Hemoxian Original Mecha Series Non-Zero Studio Arcane unit and product identification information over here. And on the side of the box here, kind of more information and a look at how this is going to look with that cape and with, like I said, that kind of wrestling belt that it's got there. Around on the other side, you can see it in kind of a little bit different form without all that other stuff. This is basically the same unit in a kind of very different sort of aesthetic. So I think basically you can kind of make it either way, and that's certainly very interesting. Here on the back side of the box, you have just kind of this silhouette there, but that's in a kind of metallic purple, as you can kind of see there. So that looks pretty cool. On the top of the box here, you can see about the Jeffy training droid that we have included with this. So it's got this, you can make it look like it's a punching and training with that. Also works as like a weapon display stand there, I guess. Here's a little bit about the extra arm unit that's sold separately, but we'll be taking a look at that as well. And then a few more different action poses showing off the details of like those like long dreadlock hair looking kind of parts there. Some more details of that, the cloak display, the champion's gold belt. And then on the bottom of the box, you can see some more about the effect parts. Those look pretty crazy. See more about the kit there, front, back, the NUKES. So I guess that's the NUKES form, and I guess that's why the here titling on the front, it's either the NUKES or the B.A.K.I. So you can either kind of make it as one or the other. They're very interesting. There's obviously a ton of stuff in here. It is a huge box, and because we have stuff printed on all sides, it's a lot. It's gonna be quite the build. Oh, I've got it upside down. And I was gonna say, if there's one thing that I know to expect from a Hemoxian kit as well. There we go. There's that same line art on this box cover on the inside. Yeah, there's one thing that I know to expect is that we'll get a lot of extra stuff in here as well. And no, actually this part that I took out of there, if you flip this around on the other side, it's a boxing ring kind of background display. So you can put this here like behind your kit for like the display. That is really cool. Like I said, you get a ton of really cool stuff with these Hemoxian kits like this, as well as like blueprint sheet, and it's on a really interesting paper. So it's just printed on this paper here and then mounted on this brown sheet of paper. This again would be something that would be really cool to put into like an actual frame and put it up on your wall. Really interesting, and like such a unique thing to be included with the kit. I mean, that's, like I said, Hemoxian does this, and they include some really cool stuff in their kits. Under that, we've got what looks to be like an LP or something, but I think this is actually just the cape. It's clothing parts are usually packaged in this way. So once we open this up, you can see there's the cape. So yeah, it's got actual like, well, I don't know if it's real. I mean, I doubt it's real. I'm sure it's synthetic, but like fur up here at the top, and then the cape is printed there like that. Over here on this side is instructions on how to connect this onto the kit there to look like that. And also importantly, along both sides, it does have a wire for you to be able to adjust the shape of the cape how you want it to. So that's really nice. All right, so under that, just a ton of runners. And again, I've mentioned this before, and it really is kind of meaningless, but it is pretty cool how they have like their logos printed on like the actual packaging bags as well. I mean, it's stuff that's just going right to the trash, but it's kind of cool. A couple of these runners are even protected with like a very thin like little cardboard sheet in there behind them just to keep those solid. It looks like maybe because these are in like a softer plastic, I guess. Oh yeah, these are in like a softer rubber. So that's pretty cool, interesting. And the other thing that I forgot that's cool about Hemoxian's bags is that they've got this perforated little notch there, which makes them very easy to tear open. I love that too. All right, some other cool stuff in here. I found the bag, which looks to be like what we're going to use for the hair parts. I was kind of interested to find out how exactly they were going to manage this, but it looks like, as you can see there, and we'll take a closer look in the review, but it's going to be like a more stiff, rigid wire that goes on the inside, and then a like thicker, larger kind of soft rubber kind of cable that's going to fit over the top of that, and we'll have to cut this down obviously to length because it looks like we have a few of each of those and it's going to have to be cut down. I think there's probably like 10 or 12 of them or something in total. All right, some more stuff down here at the bottom. Let's see. This paper here looks really interesting and I'm trying to figure out what it is, and from what I can tell, this looks like basically a breakdown of just all the parts that are in each section. So like right here for the head, this is telling you which parts off of which runners are used. All right, more stuff here. We've got some water slide decals. This is the first of 2 sheets of water slide decals. So you can see these are going to mostly be in white with some being in dark gray. And they're separated by units. One's for the NUKES parts, one's for the B.A.K.I parts, one's for the training droid Jeffy parts. I think it was Jeffy on the outside of the box, wasn't it? Anyway, we've got another sheet here, 2 of water slides with some more just kind of like graffiti water slides that you could put maybe on your Jeffy or whatever there. So those are pretty cool and very colorful. And then we've also got some photo etch parts included here as well. And these are the kind of peel and stick kind. So they're not even ones that you have to like cut off. So it's just got this sticky film on there, kind of like the ones that you would get from Bandai. So we'll be able to use those as well to add some more details. That's awesome. And then finally, okay, I think we can get to the instruction manual, which as you might expect is huge. There's a ton of stuff in here. Starting at the front, we've got some information there in Chinese and in English about that, and then some more like product images here for the display, more about the NUKES unit, and then kind of those parts there. The next page gets into the parts list, and then off into the construction. So as you might expect, the construction for this looks like it's going to be pretty lengthy here and is going to let us know. So we have that extra page that tells us exactly what parts are used for every section. In the manual, it does tell you what runners are going to be used anyway. So not every individual part, but at least it groups the runners there for you that are all going to be used for each section of the build. And so after going through everything there, a ton of stuff, you get to the end part and it shows you, I guess like for the display base, you're gonna be able to connect all this stuff to the bottom of the base as well, and it shows you where all those parts fit in for storage. That's awesome. Here's that storage, the base display anyway. Here's the decal guide where all the decals are gonna go on everything. Some more color pages here showing some more just kind of different images and information. Again, everything here is in Chinese and in English, so that's really cool. More images of the NUKES unit and then the B.A.K.I unit here. So a ton of stuff, and that's going to continue on to the next page here. There's more of that, like what we saw on the outside of the box, but there's just a whole lot. And then again, about the multi-arm unit, that's the sold separately unit, but we will take a look at that here shortly. Although I'm wondering if I shouldn't have separated that into a separate video, because this video is going to be pretty long with everything there is to go over with this. There's a ton of stuff in here. A few more bits here that we're hiding at the bottom of the box before we get into the absolute mountain of runners. We've got our LED units there and batteries, so 2 of those. And this little thing here, which I thought was going to be a sticker. We've seen these before in other Hemoxian kits, but it's just like a little circle printed little paper thing. It's cute, but I wish it was a sticker, would have been cool. And then also parts for the base. So the main hexagonal part here, and then these 2 parts that you're going to attach onto the side of there. And then 2 of these little flexible arms. So these we've seen with different kits, but they're these thick flexible arms with screws there on the end that are going to flex and work as the arm that's going to hold up the kit or your Jeffy or Jeffy. So all right, runners, there's a lot of them. Let's go ahead and get into it. Runner A1 is here in red, parts for the fingers there. As you can see, runner A2, we have 2 of, they're both clear in different clear colors. One is clear yellow, one is clear orange, so you'll have some options there. And then runner A3 is also in red. Next few runners are gonna all be here in black. Here's runner B, we have 2 of for a bunch of black parts. Runner C, we also have 2 of for more parts in black. And then runner D as well for some more parts there. Runner E is gonna be in a kind of medium gray here for what looks like mostly parts for the hand options. Runner F is some more parts there in gray, but as you'll notice, we have a section up here that is like chrome plated. There's 2 of the F runner, and both of those are chrome plated there for what is basically this kind of like a drill part there, and you have these sharp little pointed parts that are going to go in at the end. Runner G we have 2 of, some more parts for what is essentially going to be kind of like the inner frame, more like kind of gray parts there. Runner H1 we have 1 of, runner H2 we have 2 of, more parts here in gray, and the same thing for runner I as well. There's a bunch of those. For the J runner we have 4 of, 2 of them are in gray and 2 of them are in this kind of grayish lavender kind of color here. Runner K is also in that same color, and then we've got runner L, which is going to be in a kind of bluish, purplish, grayish kind of color here. We've got 2 of this L runner for some of the outer armor, but then we've also got the L runner available here in off-white. So we're going to have option parts, again, kind of depending on which version you're building, you're going to choose the colors there. And then similarly, runner M as well, you have 1 in that kind of bluish gray color, and then 1 in off-white here as well. Runner N we have 2 of for some more parts there in black. Runner O is some more parts here in red. I think these are parts for our Jeff D. Then we got some more parts here in gray. We're back to more gray here for runner P. Runner Q we have 2 of. Yeah, these definitely seem like parts for like the display stand and all that, like the accessories anyway. That's going to continue here on to runner R as well, which we have 2 of, more parts there in gray. Runner S is in a little bit darker gray here for a few more parts for the display base, it would seem. And then runners T1 and T2 were the ones that are here in the softer plastic. And so you have 1 set there in a kind of purplish gray color, 1 set in a kind of pale red. So these are just going to be, yeah, in this soft rubber. That's very interesting. So there's those. Runner U is some more parts here in black. Runner V1 is some more parts here in gray. Runner V2 is interesting because I think this is a black runner, but we have 1 part in black, but then this section, this part anyway, is in like a kind of coated like orangish gold. These parts down here are in a coated, a little bit more kind of yellow, pale yellow kind of gold. And this part here for the knife blade is in a plated silver there. So 3 different platings on this black runner there, pretty cool. Lastly then, runners W, X, and Y are going to be our clear yellow parts, mostly effect parts here. That part came off the runner, I've got that set aside. Runner X, some more effect parts there, a ton of really cool effect parts here on this one, and here runner Y to round us out. So we didn't quite make it to Z, but that's plenty of parts, plenty of stuff in here. This is going to be quite the build indeed. Let me go ahead and get to work on this and then we'll check it out. All right guys, then here is the kit all built up. What a build. This is such a cool and interesting build, such an interesting kit to put together, just because not only those hair parts, of course, which are really unique, but also those red soft rubber parts that go in around like on the frame, and you'll see those in action here in just a minute, but they're just really cool how those work and flex. And it's not just like a thing, like sometimes you have like rubber parts on Bandai's kits like that for like tubing bits, and they're really not that necessary for them to be soft rubber because they don't really move that much. These actually do move and flex when you move the kit around, and we'll just see some more of that here when we talk about some more of the articulation. But it's just a really cool, very unique feature about this kit amongst many unique features that it has going on with this one. So definitely a cool kit. And we just got a ton of accessories even before we get to the add-on set for the extra arms. Just with what you get included with the main box here, there's a lot to get through, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So first of all, obviously I chose to build this up as the B.A.K.I form and not as the NUKES form, just because I figured that's what's kind of like featured predominantly on the box. This is going to be kind of the main form that you're going to want to go with for this. Honestly, for how much stuff that you have included with this, I'm kind of surprised that they even bothered even like making a secondary kind of form that you can build this as. You can if you want to. I'm not really going to be focusing so much on that. There's a whole bunch of armor parts that are basically just going to be in a different color. For the most part, all these like light colored parts are going to be in that darker gray. The clear parts are going to be swapped in different colors there. You're obviously not going to have these hair parts there at the back. And then we do have some weapons that are kind of primarily for the NUKES form. For example, this very large combat knife here with this connection piece just to be able to attach this onto the side of the leg. If you look on the side of the thigh, there's that little gray cap piece. You can remove that and then plug the knife here onto the side for storage when not in use. Otherwise, this is just going to be held in the hand, and like I said, it is rather large. And speaking of hand options, we've got a number of different ones here. Obviously, we've got closed fists, and you have these connection pieces too to keep your hands like together when not in use. It's one of the ways that you can use those anyway. But then we've got these open expressive hands with the thumbs on a ball joint, and also the 4 fingers here have a little point of articulation that those can all move like that, which is pretty incredible. And then we've got two different types of holding hands here, one set with the trigger finger extended, one set without, and you'll see these are already holding onto the weapon handles. So that's how it has you build the weapon holding hands, any of the weapon holding hands here. They give you the parts for the weapon handles to just build into the hand. So basically you're just going to swap the weapon by just connecting it to the hand here like that, which is pretty ingenious. So if you wanted to hold the knife, basically you can just undo this, remove that black handle that's there on the knife. That would just be for like if you're displaying it when not in use, but for in use, you're just going to then replace that with the hand with the handle molded in, or not molded in, but it's a separate part in there. Anyway, with the handle already in the hand there like that. So it's a really cool gimmick. And then we've also got its gun here. So it's this really cool 4-barrel designed gun with this clear part here at the top that'll flip up there like that. And you'll notice no handle on this. That's because, just like I was saying, the handle is molded together with the hand. So that's just gonna pop into there like that for when in use. Now this does also have another really cool feature. If we put this down, flip this part up here, kind of undoing that latch, and then fold this down like that, you can see this is gonna open up and it actually pops out the ammo like that, and that is an actual separate piece. This kind of like bullet piece here that you've got in there. You can push that down, and then when you close this up, that'll just close up there like that. So again, just kind of faster, just to show you guys, that'll pop out there like that. Really cool gimmick. And then of course we've got these extra bullets here on these like ammo packs, and these will again just attach onto the side of the thigh if you wanted to use these, just with these hard points here just on the side of the thigh. So there's a left and a right version of those. But that's not all, of course. We're not done. That's not the only thing this can do. You can just remove this part here entirely, and this can become a gun arm. So we've got a lot of different arm options, which we'll get to here in just a second. But aside from the huge knife, we've also got these smaller size knives like this in clear orange or in clear yellow. So just kind of, again, depending on the color version. And with these, all it is just a matter of connecting that directly into the handle here for a small kind of beam knife or kind of dagger there like that. I think I've got that backwards, but anyway. But wait, there's more, because if you remove just the effect part there of the knife and we go around here onto the back of the arm, this part here will fold out and you can make basically like a tonfa knife here sticking out the back of the elbow. So this can be rotated around to make it kind of something like that. Or I guess you could like have it just like out the side, something like that, or heavy arms Gundam style, just out the back of the forearm there like that. So yeah, and then the arm here is basically going to come off below the elbow, and that's going to be our swap point for swapping the arms. So as I said, the gun can be an arm. You can swap that onto there like so and give them something like a gun arm there, something like that. Really cool. Otherwise, our main arm option parts are going to be these. Now this one I actually have set for the left side, but you can actually swap this. The hands can be swapped to the left or the right, basically just by moving this thumb around to the other side there like that. And so these fingers, as you can see, are just connected via ball joints at the base and have 2 points of articulation here for those to really nicely articulate it. And then of course the wrist as well, lots of movement here. Even this part here on the back of the hand, this kind of knuckle part, can be flipped forward or back there to cover the knuckles of the hand. So if we make this into a fist here, something like this, like you're gonna be punching with, you can kind of fold that down, not any farther than that, unfortunately, but just something like that. And so this will be just attached into the arm right there. And this of course does have an added punching gimmick here. When you move this part forward, it slides that part out there like that to have that extended like so. So you can just kind of do it manually, pushing that in or out. We've pushed this part here at the back. That's kind of meant to extend it out here like that. So if we remove this hand, this is also kind of a universal point here, as we also have the option of putting the drill end onto the end of there, or you can omit that and just have it as like this kind of drill, or you could like maybe imagine that as sort of like a cannon or something. And then you can also remove that part and just make it as sort of just like a crushing weapon here like this on the end of these arms. So a lot of options, and of course we've got 2 of those, 1 for each side, and then we're gonna have 4 more with the option set. And then another option as well is gonna be kind of like these boxing glove hands here. Now these are kind of more so meant for our Jefty robot, but you can use these with these arms here as well. And a good point of doing that is because of some of the effect parts that you have that are going into here. So amongst our many different effect parts, this one is one that is meant to attach here onto the front of this fist. So it's got little tabs in there that fit into the holes here. So when that's attached, that's just going to work like that. Very cool. But if you're using this hand, we've got an effect part for that one as well. So this one will just fit kind of onto the front of those knuckle parts there like that for this effect part. And then this effect part actually will fit kind of in between. So if we have this extended out and we have to remove this little gray part here on the top, because that's where the effect part is going to be plugged onto. So just remove that off of there. The effect part will slide over the top of there and slot onto where we just took that part off. And there's that effect part for the middle of this punching arm. And then you can combine them, of course. You can head and have this one on here as well for something like that. Really, really cool. But wait, there's still more. Remember when I told you that the thumb can be swapped around to like the other side just by rotating this part here? Well, you can basically rotate the fingers around as well. And then instead of having like a thumb and fingers, it basically just becomes like this kind of claw hand like that, which is really cool. So that's its own kind of thing that can be bent kind of all the way back to be sort of perpendicular to the arm there like that. And then this effect part is meant to be used with this type of hand. So you've got this kind of energy ball blast coming out of there. And that's just going to plug into there like so. And there's that effect part. So yeah, we're of course not done yet because you do also have this effect part, which is just kind of meant to just kind of go on the floor. It doesn't like really plug into anything, but it's another effect part that we also have included. And there is a few more effect parts, but before we get to that, we have the belt here, of course. So basically you have this kind of Kamen Rider looking kind of sort of style belt. You're gonna remove this one off the front of here and you can plug this wrestling belt on here instead. Plug that onto the front of there, which does look pretty cool. And then obviously this is going to wrap around with these soft red parts there. When that's clasped together there at the back, it's very like too big. So I don't think it's necessarily made to fit onto the front of there necessarily like that. And even if we look at the promo photos, it's only shown with the belt when he's like holding it like that, or when it's wrapped around the torso. So not like on the waist when it's just kind of going around the torso there like that. Otherwise, it's usually just meant to be used without that red soft belt wrapping around the side, which also doesn't have to be red, by the way. All the soft rubber parts we have in this dark gray color here as well. If you were building this as the NUKES type, that's another reason why it's very difficult to swap between the forms. Aside from all this armor, which is meant to be in a different color, all these soft rubber parts that go inside kind of like on the frame are also meant to be in a different color as well. So that's why I would not recommend you guys planning to, you know, build it up as one form and then change it to another form, because that's basically going to require a lot of disassembly. Essentially, you just have to choose one form from the start and build it up like that. All right, after all of that, then we do of course also have our Jefty and our display base. So the display base is kind of interesting. Basically, you've got a ton of hard points on here for connecting different stuff and a ton of hard points here on the bottom, which kind of just looks like the bottom of the base. But again, as a reminder, you're actually able to store a whole bunch of your extra pieces here on the bottom of the base just for storage, which is really cool. But our Jefty is connected via this short, flexible rod there. There is a longer version of that you can use if you want to. I feel like this is kind of like just too long. I don't know if this would really be all necessarily that useful, but you've got that as an option anyway. So you can have this kind of, whether you want to like display it as attacking or just like getting hit, this will bend around here. This is also your connection piece if you wanted to not have your Jefty up on here and you wanted to have the main kit connected onto this. That piece there just kind of hanging off the back, that's the connection piece for the main kit. So yeah, Jefty here, as you can see, is made up of just a bunch of different kind of connection pieces. And so here's where you can connect the arms or kind of whatever onto the sides. You can have the arms higher or lower, wherever you want. The arms here are basically just going to be pretty simple mechanical arms here. And again, the hands are swappable. These ones being those boxing glove hands that I was showing you. So any of the different options, like if you want the drill hands or the articulated hands or these little claw hands here, which can open up like that. And these ones can of course hold those knife blades that we saw before. So you can plug that into there, close up the hands, and then you can just have this as like a little knife blade hand out of there. So there's literally just too many options with this. So here for the head too, it's just kind of a simple head, nothing really too much going on with that, but these front and back like chest plates here. You'll notice those small little holes throughout. Well, that's where the other effect parts go. So we've got 3 of these little effect parts that can be plugged in here onto those spots. Something like that if you wanted to make it look like he was training and kind of hitting the robot like that. But say it with me now, wait, there's more, because if we remove these plates here off the front and the back, these 2 big plates here from the front and back of Jefty have more parts on the inside for these being able to articulate kind of in different ways. Or there is also a part here that is included that you can use to connect these together. And so when you connect them together like this and fold out this connection part here like that, this becomes a shield. So this is especially again for the NUKES in particular, not really necessarily for the B.A.K.I form, but if you're using this as a shield, and then of course you can then use your effect parts here on the shield as well to make it look like it's kind of actually using the shield to block attacks. So we do also of course have that cape as we saw before. This is going to require some like parts forming there on the shoulders to be able to attach this up onto the shoulders there, sort of similar to like any of like the Crossbone Gundam capes if you ever attached those onto some of the different versions of the Crossbone Gundam. So that looks awesome. And then we've literally just got a ton of different connection parts that are going to be used in different ways. You have so much, I mean, aside from just everything that I've just gone over now, there's so much that you can do in terms of just displaying the weapons here on the base like that. That's actually weapons from a different kit. But there you can see something like that, which I'm not going to show you, but here you can see in the photo, you can display all the weapons connected onto here like this. So like some of those different like connection bits and things that you have, it's just used for, you know, mounting the parts onto the base in different ways. And then of course we can remove the arms off of our Jefty and attach them to this piece here on the back to give us a second set of arms here. Even without the extra add-on weapon set, you can have an extra set of arms here attached onto the back here, and I'll show you how that's going to look in just a second. But aside from all of those many accessories and option parts that you have, I do want to focus a little bit on just the main kit here, because there's a lot to say just about the main kit. If we had, you know, a fraction of those accessories and just this main kit, it would still be awesome, just because this kit is really cool just in its articulation. Obviously you have those hair parts, which are really cool. I will say very stinky though. They have that smell of like a really strong, like rubbery smell to them, and I kind of don't really like it, and I feel like it's giving me a bit of a headache, to be honest. But these are all of course just flexible wires there like that. It was definitely a little bit of a challenge to get those in place, because you basically kind of like string those through this part here in the head. You have to put these plastic parts on there. You have to put the wire through the rubber and all that. So it took a little while to get the hair parts settled, but I mean, they are going to make the kit just look so much more dynamic. But the range of articulation there and the neck's really nice. And then here on the chest, like I said, all those red rubber parts in there are meant to enhance the articulation. So when we bend this back, you can see a really wide range of movement here, front and back, and then side to side. When we move the shoulder forward, you can see how those parts are flexing. Even like the black parts are kind of like spreading out like that from that chest armor. I mean, so it's really cool. And then here on the bicep, when we bend that bicep, you can see how that rubber part flexes there like that, those rubber parts on the arm. And then in the core of the torso as well, when we bend this side to side, those rubber parts are flexing inside there as well. Taking a look around here on the back side as well, when you bend this forward, you can see how that rubber part inside is going to work with those kind of like backbone metal pieces kind of attached to it there like that. In the leg, when we bring this up and bend the knee, we're going to have a really nice knee bend there, forward and back with separation of that part there at the front. And then at the back, again, watch how this back part of the knee joint and this kind of back of like the ankle joint here, both will kind of collapse in as the knee bends. Hopefully you guys can see this. You can see how both of those parts actually move to go inside the leg when we're bending the knee like that. So just really nice articulation here at the ankles as well. Those will go, you know, forward, back. You have a nice toe bend there, nice detail up underneath the feet there. And then at the hips, I mean, the hip joint will move forward and back. You're able to bring the leg all the way up here like that. This kind of side skirt armor there sort of moves to get out of the way. You can bring the leg all the way out to the side here as well. Then it's kind of another cool feature here too, like when the knee is bent, you can then also like rotate above the knee there as well. And so essentially with almost unlimited articulation with this, some of the best articulation that I've ever seen on a mecha model kit, you know, between this and like the Kotobukiya Megalomaria kits, which are kind of like on a whole other level just because how thin those are. This one has a lot of bulk to it and still also has just an incredible level of articulation here. I mean, just they really, you can tell like in designing this kit, they really like put the articulation and the design of it like kind of above all else. And so the posability of this thing is awesome. And then on top of that, just the absolute mountain of option parts and accessories that you have with this. I am in no way going to be able to show you everything here just in this video that you can do with this. There's so much that you can do with this. I'm going to be able to show you, a handful of different poses and gimmicks and of like the different ways that you can use some of the weapons and option parts and effect parts and everything in this, but there's a lot more that you can do with this than what I'm going to be able to show you just in this review video. But just so you guys understand that this is one of those kits that gives you just an incredible amount of stuff in the box. And it's one of those that I almost feel like it's like too much stuff, but this is definitely like the dream model kit for somebody if you're into, especially doing like toy photography, like if you're into building up your model kits and then doing like photography with them. I mean, this is an absolute fantastic kit for that. As we saw like in the manual, I mean, there's just a bunch of really cool photography of this kit in different poses and with the different effect parts and everything. Even within the manual, I mean, just so imagine what you can do with this, just recreating a lot of that stuff and more. There's just so much that you can do with this kit. So if that's what you're into, I mean, this is a dream kit for you. There's just so much that you can do with this between the different punching weapons, the drill weapons, the knife weapons, you've got the gun. You can build this up as like basically an entirely different kind of like aesthetic, building this up as the NUKES, as sort of like a more militaristic robot kind of vibe, or you can build it as the B.A.K.I and go for a more like basically the sort of a UFC robot vibe. So you've got those options there. And I mean, on top of all of that, the kit is also just a really nice quality, aside from that very bad smelling black plastic used for the hair. Otherwise, the quality of the kit, the fit of everything is good. You've got a lot of little parts on there. I'm not having anything breaking or falling off, and it's a good, solid kit. It went together really nicely. It wasn't like super tight. I don't have any loose bits. I don't have any finicky bits. It's just really solid. So absolutely a kit that I'm going to 100% recommend to you guys if you're a fan of this design. And I think there's just so much that you can do with it. I mean, like even if you're not a fan of like the cape, for example, you don't have to use that. You can make it be kind of more militaristic with a shield and a gun if you want, or you can give it a gun arm, or you can kind of just go all in with the whole like King of Fighters aesthetic as well. So I mean, there's just so much that you can do with this. But of course, there is also the extra arms option set that you can get as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. All right, guys, then we need to also take a look here at the Nuclear Blast Fist option set. And I know that's been a long review video already, but we'll take a quick look through this and check it out on the kit. There is a bit of lore text here on the front of the box, which is fun, so you can check that out if you're interested. Otherwise, there is the kind of parts list here on the back side of the box, and that's really kind of about it here on the outside. On the inside, as you might expect, it's basically just a handful of runners and our instruction manual here, which is going to be smaller and not in full color or anything. There's another parts list there, but it's just going to be like a ×4 of a bunch of these runners because it's 4 arms, of course. So it's just going to go through the construction of the arms. Once we get to the back pages though, here we do have some more photos, some of which is kind of similar like what we saw on the inside of the manual for the main kit. But of course, the other great thing about these sample photos is that it gives you ideas, inspiration for how you might want to pose the kit. Because especially with this one, I mean, there's just a ton of options. You can even put these extra arms and then weapons together to make this kind of gun dog thing there. So that's interesting. And as for the runners, it's basically just copies of some of the same runners we had with the main kit. So here we've got 2 of runner A1 and 2 of runner A3 for the red parts for the hands. We've got 4 of this black B runner here for some of those black parts. Also 4 of this F runner, which again is the same runner with the same part with this plated silver up there. And then we've got 2 of runner Z here as well, also in gray for the last of our runners. So let's check this out. In here we do also get another one of these little nut stickers, but this is the accessory package here For this, I guess one thing that you could do if you're collecting Hemoxian kits is you could collect these little quality control or a quality certificate, little circle paper art things. And so with that all put together, basically what we have here is just 4 of the same arms that we had before. This top part of the arms would be the same as the top part from the arms here for the Jefty, except that the cover piece on the top is not black. It's just going to be there in gray. And then the lower part of the arm is going to be the same as the arms that we had before. So basically now if you have like the full set, you've got 6 of these arms, and it comes with the same set of option parts for those, the drills, and or whether you want to have that as like this kind of drill shape part or this kind of pile driver part there, something like that. So we also, once again, just have a few other different option accessories, because there's basically, again, a lot more ways that you can use this if you could just get creative with your connection bits. Another kind of cool thing that I wanted to show you guys too is that the reason why some of these parts have like different size holes there, and then also in here even for the connection, so this is like the elbow joint connection, you can see there's the larger size hole is what we're going to use. That smaller size hole is just going to be like a standard 3mm peg hole. So if you wanted to use these arm parts with like a 30 minutes missions kit or 30 minutes sisters or frame arms girl or something like that, as long as you have like a way to plug that onto a 3mm peg, you can use these even with other different kits. But it's going to work the same way. And one thing that I think I didn't point out to you guys earlier is that when you extend this out, it actually rotates that part in the center there too, which is pretty cool. So when you push that out, you can see it kind of rotates that. I know it's kind of hard to see. Maybe I'll put it in slow motion here for you guys so you can see, but there you go. You can kind of see it turns there. It kind of jerks there, but I'm trying to hold it still so you guys can see how it turns there. Anyway, it's kind of cool. But yeah, one thing that is different is that this does have a different connection piece here for connecting it onto the back, which I'm assuming is just there to be a bit more sturdy. Also because the other connection piece that you're meant to use for plugging the arms on the back with just the main kit is just like a circle peg, and then it like tends to rotate because of the weight. But because of the weight of having 4 additional arms, they need to have this different adapter piece on there. And I gotta say, even like without posing this at all, even before posing it, it does look really, really cool with this like just huge backpack of those extra arms on there. But I think we definitely got to try out some poses here with this again. And so yeah, with all of that extra weight, I mean, depending on the pose, you can kind of get it to stand up if you get it balanced just right, trying to balance the weight of that. But you're probably definitely going to want to use the display base for this one if you are planning on having it with all 6 arms on there. So it definitely adds to the weight and definitely throws it off balance quite a bit. But man, does it look cool. It just is really, it takes like a kit that already was very cool looking and just makes it that much more impressive. It's pretty incredible. And if you're wondering like, oh, is this like a must-have accessory for it? I would say not necessarily, just because the main kit already gives you so much, but it definitely gives you, you know, some really cool options here if you do plan on getting the add-on set as well. It is pretty awesome. So I mean, if you want to go in on this kit, you kind of might as well go all in and get the extra arms as well. That said, I guess kind of another way to do that would be to just get 2 of the main kit, and that might sound crazy, that might sound like a lot, but with all the different ways that you have to display this, I mean, you could have one as the NUKES with just kind of the more militaristic kind of vibe to it, build it that way, and then build one as the B.A.K.I and then give the B.A.K.I all the arm parts. And that would be one way to just kind of go all out with this one and having both kits at the same time. It sounds crazy, but honestly, this is one of those kits that I could definitely see getting 2 of, just because of all the different options you have as far as how you might want to display it. And like I said, it's just a really nice kit, really fun kit, very fun kit to pose. I mean, the posing options for this are unlimited basically. I mean, just between all the different options you have. So it's really, really cool. Definitely an awesome kit. Definitely recommend it to you guys. Check it out. I know this was a longer review because there was just a ton to go over with this one, but I really hope that you guys enjoyed taking a look at this one as much as I did. And all this to say that we've been just looking at the kit just straight out of the box without even putting the decals on, without doing any detail painting, panel lining, anything like that. All that's just going to enhance the look of it even more and just going to look that much more impressive. And this is one of those that I think just, if you actually went in and like painted it and did everything on that, I mean, it's just going to look like an incredible kit when it's all done. So definitely recommend it, guys. If you want to check it out for yourself, definitely check it out there at USA Gundam Store. The link is down in the video description there as always. I would definitely recommend you guys not to sleep on this one. Check it out. And if you have any other further questions, definitely let me know in the comments. Like I said, there was so much with this. I'm sure there was like some minor details that I missed, but I tried to cover everything here for you guys. Hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. If you're not yet subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And until next time, guys, I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.